G'day, and welcome to a new walk around video. This will be an in-depth review of a 2025 Geely Starray EMI. In its home market, it's known as the Galaxy Starship 7, and in most other markets it's called the EX5 EMI. It has a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder engine paired to an electric drivetrain through a parallel hybrid system that Geely calls Super Hybrid, which is similar to Toyota's hybrid Synergy drive. I quite like the look of this car, especially since it doesn't have a big ugly grille like so many others. The rear styling reminds me of a Porsche. It's a bit minimalistic, but still a nice design. Now let's get to the important stuff. Right, let's check out the interior of the Geely Starray. First of all, check out the key fob. It is very, very weird. There's the Geely logo on there, and lock, unlock, and boot open, boot release buttons. But it's entirely covered in suede. It is very strange, but interesting. And it is a proximity key, so it just lit up and didn't have to do anything. And there is a little button here on the boot. You can just open it straight up like that. Decent amount of boot space, but the sloping design does cut down on the space a little bit, so it's not super practical. It does have a little privacy cover though, which is pretty cool. Under here we have more storage, which is pretty cool. Very nice. And it's all electric. It's a little annoying. I don't really know what was wrong with entirely manual releases anyway. Decently sized wheels, 235. Pretty nice. 19-inch, at least it's not 20, so the tyres are decently thick. On this side we have the charging port, because this is a plug-in hybrid. Oh, okay. And on that side is the fuel filler, because this is a hybrid. Got two little grab handles in the door here, which is interesting, and mood lighting, which you can adjust, which is actually pretty cool. Alright, first thing you notice, giant screen. Yep, very annoying. It has... so that's how you do it. So that opens the fuel filler, we haven't needed to do it yet. It has a 360 camera, which is pretty cool, helps you to park, and it even has this weird outside view of the car, and a front view, just in case you don't have a windscreen. And what next? Oh. Screens. Hate screens. Power share. Tyre pressure monitor. Very useful. Climate control. Press either of these buttons and you open the climate control. Let's turn that down because I don't want wind noise. Here's setting for rapid cooling and rapid warming. I haven't used rapid warming because it's summer and it's pretty hot. But rapid cooling has come in very handy over the past few days. And my favourite feature is that it has ventilated seats. Never used a car with ventilated seats before, but I am very keen on it now. Over here we have vehicle settings. Change everything like spatial sound or sunroof sunshade, fog lights. And yes, all of the headlight controls are in the touchscreen. Lovely. Thankfully it has a fully automatic mode, which means I don't really need to think about it, but it's still annoying that the headlight controls are in the touchscreen. The LDV Deliver 9 van is the same, and it's just stupid. Driving, I've set it to my favourite settings. Not a lot of adjustability, not like the Polestar. That lights would be there. Yes, driver assist. We've had... it doesn't seem like we can turn them off. Maybe that's locked in because this is a rental car. Voice assistant, well, you can adjust that too. Oh wow, you can even select a wallpaper. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's the standard one. That looks like it could be somewhere in New Zealand. It probably isn't, but could be. Oh yeah, oh, there we are. Look at all of that. This is basically like a tablet. Yep. Why do vehicles have to be tablets on wheels? I don't get that. What does that button do? Nothing. Okay. Back to home. Haven't used Bluetooth. Now we get to everything important. It has Apple CarPlay, but not Android Auto. Which is kind of annoying because I have an Android phone and it would be nice to use my phone map, or Google Maps. Whoops. Would it be nice to use Google Maps on my phone? Why not just use this? Well, of course we've had to use this because we don't have anything else, but this in-car navigation system is really bad. What I find kind of hilarious is that the in-car navigation system points out all the bus stops. Okay, let's search for a hotel down near the airport. It's called the Naomi Hotel. There we go. We have Naomi Studio Wellington, which is nowhere near here. We're in Auckland right now. Naomi Hotel Wellington, again, we're in Auckland. Tesla, why? It is actually on the same street, just a few numbers down from the actual Naomi Hotel, but why? And there's a result down here, but you can't. How do you get rid of this? Ah, here we are. The Central Private Hotel, Queenstown Lakes District. No. Instead, you have to put in the actual address of said hotel. 153 Kirkboyd Road. See, I've already been there, so it's already stored. But you have to type all of that in before it'll get it. Google Maps has no trouble figuring out what you're trying to look for. It has very little trouble anyway. Let's move on to the dashboard. Okay, the steering wheel, which is right in front of the dashboard. Let's see if I can... Oh, there we are. Thank you very much. Right. Buttons. Lots of buttons. Actually, this one can be mapped to whatever you want. You can access that in the vehicle settings, which is pretty neat. Or settings for the menu and directional buttons. This entire panel is the directional button rather than just the circle, but kind of interesting. Same with this side. That accesses the menus in the dashboard, such as trip meter or Bluetooth media, power consumption, average fuel consumption, trip meter again, tyre pressure and seat belts. That's the only information that really matters at this point. There's a nice little image of the car in front of you, all the warning lights and everything. And it also has the infrared thing, which you can see on screen. Of course you can't see it like that in real life because it's infrared. But yeah, that is keeping an eye on your eyes to make sure you're keeping an eye on the road. Except it does have a few problems, which I will get into in the driving mode. And over here we have the gear shifter. Yep, it's a column shifter, just like the current Mercedes. So you put in down for drive, up for reverse, and it has parking sensors, and a very cool rear view camera. Tap it down, single, oh, here we go. Please briefly shift the gear lever, and you're in neutral. and push the button in to go into park. It works exactly the same way as the current Mercedes models or LDV van. So a lot of them are going into that right now. I don't like the fact that they are styled to look like the regular stalks. So if you're used to, say, a Japanese or an Australian car where the right-hand drive, the indicator stalk is on the right, you might turn to go indicate and end up shifting into neutral. Thankfully that doesn't work on this car because you have to press and hold, but in the Mercedes vans that does happen. You can accidentally shift into neutral while you're on the road trying to indicate, which is not ideal. And over here we have the everything else stalk. We've got our indicators, and they function like BMW indicators. That's how they return to their resting position. It's kind of annoying. And to cancel them you just do that. So you just flick them up in the opposite direction. So you get used to it. We have the, yep, shifting to high beam and then flashing. And wipers, haven't really needed to use them a whole lot. Self-explanatory. So you can set the wiper settings. Again, it hasn't rained, so I haven't really needed to use them. The dashboard has crucial information like your battery level, which has fully depleted because I haven't really been near a charging port. And this is a hybrid anyway, so it's got a fuel tank. And we've used rather a lot because we've had this car for a whole week. And we have used it quite a lot in that week. An extension of the dashboard is right up here. This is probably my favourite feature of this car, the heads-up display. It gives you speed, the speed limit, the indicators, and also the spatial awareness. You can see that little image of a car up ahead. It gives you the images of what's next to you or in front of you, and that sort of thing, and some very basic navigation information. It is quite good. I really do believe that all cars should have heads-up displays, at least displaying the basic information, the stuff you really need to know, like your speed and that. Down here we have a little light panel and climate control vents, little buttons. At least it's got your defrost and recirculate, and I'm guessing that's automatic climate control, and turning the climate control on and off, and this little thing. Now, this thing doesn't really do much, but it does offer you the ability to change the mood lighting. If you turn the dial without pressing the button, it just alters the media volume. If you press the button, then that disappears, and you can go to the mood lighting. I'll leave it on that one because I quite like that one. Now we have a cup holder, 2 cups, and I guess credit card or something. But down here we have some places for your phone, and it does do wireless charging. I don't think my phone supports that though, so it hasn't really. It might do. Haven't noticed. Center console. Useful, although we haven't used it much. What's even more useful is this. An empty space below the center console where you can store bags or anything you need to. So little power outlets down here, USB ports. Quite useful. Seats do have a pretty nice pattern on them. So I do like it with the other interior colours that Geely offers. they're actually decently comfortable. They're not super soft because no car has soft seats nowadays, not even luxury cars like Mercedes or Cadillac. They're all stiff and not the greatest on long journeys. Sun visors, which of course have mirrors. Oh, and they light up, just in case you want to do your makeup while you're driving. Little spot for business cards or stuff like that. Yeah, the usual sun visor functionality. And oh, looks like another little spot here. It does not extend at all. Not at all. So there's this whole section of sunshine that will never get blocked. Or reading lights. This one turns them all on. And up here is a hazard switch. That is a very weird place to have a hazard switch. Very weird. A really annoying thing about this little 3D view, when you put your indicator on, you'll notice that the green arrow lights are synchronized a little. You see the noise is synced with the actual indicators, but not with this 3D model. That is annoying. That's pretty cool. And it is a very big sunroof. Pull that button again and it opens up so you can get some ventilation, which is pretty cool. Have used it a couple of times because it has been very hot here. I do like this. I'd imagine it would be quite fun if you're doing a journey at night. You can look up at the stars and not worry about getting heat stroke. Certainly wouldn't want to use it too much during the daytime unless it's winter. We have piano black, which is lovely for getting all sorts of grease marks and everything. Piano black is the worst thing to happen to car interiors. Which way do you think is up? It'll be that way, right? Nope. In every single car I have ever driven or been in that has had doors, window switches that look like this way is up. In this car, up is down, and down is up. Who thought that was a good idea? Door handle's pretty cool though. Let's look at the back. Oh, apart from power seats, the normal stuff. Oh yeah, and whenever you touch the controls, it will ask you if you want to save the settings, which is quite annoying. Anyway, child seat anchors on basically every seat. Very cool. So this is designed to be a family car. Middle seat, cup holders, the normal stuff you'd expect in a middle seat, which of course does mean is not very comfortable, but honestly, not that bad. Obviously it's nowhere near as comfortable as the outboard seats, but still, if you had to, it's actually not horrible. And here we have a little storage cubby, USB ports, and climate control vents that are extremely poor. They do not work very well at all. One thing I've noticed about modern cars, the climate control systems are absolutely terrible. So it's a pretty significant amount of work that's gone into designing this interior. which is pretty cool. I am actually pretty impressed with the quality as well. Like the fit and finish, it is really a... That's how you close it, how you shut it off, by the way. But even with them open and with the fan speed set to maximum, not a lot of air comes out. So the rear seat passengers don't have very good air conditioning. The rest of the car is pretty cool though. Yeah, the accelerator pedal takes a while to respond actually. It's almost like it has turbo lag, which is kind of weird. But once it does get moving, it is actually pretty quick. It gets up to speed rather quickly. But yeah, when you first put your foot down, it takes a while, like a second or two, to respond to your inputs. It's a little annoying, especially if you have to make a snap decision to get out into traffic. Yes, and of course it's got these speed warnings and everything, which is useful, at least it helps you to avoid speeding. Trouble is, it must use some sort of sign recognition software or something like that, and so it's currently a 50 zone, it's about to be 60. Yep, and the thing is changed on the dashboard. But if you're in a car park, for example, and there's a speed sign that says, let's say 10, it'll recognise that and remind you when you're driving through the parking lot, which is fine. But when you get back out onto the road, there's usually not another speed sign to say that the speed limit is now 50, for example. So, because it can't see another sign, it will very angrily beep at you for doing the speed limit because it thinks the speed limit is still 10 when it's actually 50. So that is quite annoying. It also has this little like infrared warning system that I showed you on the interior walkabout that keeps an eye on your eyes and makes sure you're concentrating on the road. Trouble is, and this has happened to me yesterday or the day before when driving it, when you're in heavy traffic you are kind of looking around all over the place, and of course if you want to look at your navigation you have to look down here. If you want to do anything with the car you have to look down here, and it flings a warning at you. Let's see if I can trigger it right now. Yep, there it is. Please pay attention and drive carefully. That happens when you're in traffic and keeping an eye on the traffic. It tells you to please pay attention and drive carefully while you are in the process of paying attention and driving carefully, which is quite annoying. Apparently there is a way to turn these things off, but I haven't really bothered with it because this is just a rental car when you're driving it for a week, and this is the last day we're having it, so not really any point. On a more positive note, the driving dynamics are actually pretty good. The suspension is quite compliant and comfortable. The steering feel is decent. Considering it's electric power steering, it's not too light. The power delivery is quite linear. It feels like an EV. The build quality is quite impressive too. Overall, the Starray definitely feels like a premium car. To be fair, that shouldn't be a huge surprise, since the Geely Group owns Volvo, Polestar and Lotus, and it now has a joint venture with Mercedes-Benz. However, given the Starray's price point, I'd venture to say that it feels more expensive than it is. A brand new one will set you back around 50,000 New Zealand dollars, about the same as a Subaru Crosstrek or a Mazda CX-30. That's quite an impressive price for a plug-in hybrid SUV. Its nearest non-Chinese rival might be the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, which costs at least $10,000 more. Both of my parents also drove the Starray during our time with it, and all of us were thoroughly impressed with the overall package and driving experience. Still, there's plenty of room for improvement, particularly when it comes to the touchscreen and sat-nav.
Turn left at the second traffic light.
There are no traffic lights here.
In 70 meters, at the roundabout, take the second exit.
Well, that concludes this review of the Geely Starray EMI. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.